Hello, hi, I am Simranjit Kaur. Today I am representing children human rights in Australia. Um, Human rights are protected under the law and different segments have their rights protected. But in Australia, federal and state level human rights legislation serves the purpose including international treaties and conventions. Children are one of the notable segment as their human right depicts sensitive matter. These presentations has explained obligations of governments for children's human rights considering relevant legislation. It has also explained the legal consequences if government do not follow law and the relevant legislation. In this manner, it has investigated the matter in detail on the state of human rights available for children in Australia. If I can talk about the obligations of government to promote and protect human rights of children. Um, in Australia, the state of human rights for children is not exemplary because of lack of international level policy to address this matter. Australian government follows the Convention on the Rights of the Child as it ratified this convention in 1990. Under this convention, Australian governments are bound to promote and protect children's human rights. The convention guides the Australian government under its four principles. The first principle is governments should give the first consideration to children for paying respect and ensuring their best interests. Second policy is governments should responsible for ensuring survival and development of children as their right. The third principle is governments must let children express their views freely without pressure. It means there should not be any pressure on the children's. The fourth principle is all rights in the convention are for all children without any kind of discrimination. So there should not be any discrimination with the children's. To protect and promote human rights for children's for eradication of discrimination in human rights for children, the National Children Commissioner has an important role. Appointments of the commissioner was made in 2013 when the Australian Human Rights Commission gave special attention to children's rights. The commissioner is responsible for protecting their rights without any violation and discrimination against the children's. If I talk about the legal consequences for governments who fail to follow human rights of children, Convention on the Rights of the Child is the main treaty that governs child's human rights in Australia. The implementation is ensured through oversight by the UN and related communities and bodies. The specialized agencies, the UN Children's Fund, and other related UN bodies will ensure implementation of the rights mentioned in the Convention. These bodies will make up the committee to oversee the children's rights in a respective country. The legal consequences for governments who fail to follow human rights of children. A committee comprising of experts will work under the UN bodies overseeing the implementations of the convention. If there is any serious issue in implementation, it will be passed on the request to the Secretary General of the UN. The oversight under the convention is collective and different bodies ensure implementations. In case there is a lack of implementation, the UN bodies can indicate the government to undertake required steps. However, the legal consequences are not as strong as they should have been. The central element of overseeing the implementation of children is providing recommendations and more information about children's rights in a country. It is mandatory for the country and state parties to publish reports on the situation of the rights of children. Considering these reports will help the committee to decide the implementation level in the country. In case of non-compliance, the committee can recommend the General Assembly conduct special studies on specific issue related to children. Uh, if I talk about complexities in granting human rights to children in case of conflict, providing human rights for children might raise some complexities and they are mainly concerned with difficulties in reporting. Children are not expressive, so they might not even realize if their rights are being compromised. Because children are not so expressive, they can't tell that their rights are being compromised or not. Moreover, even family members might be involved in the violating the human rights of children. Therefore, government might find it challenging to implement and ensure their human rights. Strict punishments and law implementations are required to ensure that their rights. There are issues with discrimination and involvement of human rights of other groups and segments. For example, in the case of children's human rights belonging to indigenous Australian can cause intersectionality issues. Indigenous Australians have concern regarding their human rights and protection of Indigenous children's rights might become more complex and challenging. Therefore, protection and promotion of children's rights is a very delicate issue for the Australian government. So, these are the complexities in granting human rights to children in case of conflict. So, by presenting all the things, I can conclude that protection of human rights is a critical and concerning issue in Australia. Australia follows the Convention on the Rights of the Child, that is the international treaty. A committee comprising of specialists oversees the implementations of rights under this convention. It is mandatory for the government to ensure rights without any kind of discrimination against children. There should be a consistent policy and national law in Australia to ensure children's human rights. Ensuring children's rights is challenging because of difficulties in reporting and involvement of human rights of other segment like indigenous Australians. So it is more difficult for them. So these are the rights of children's. So these are the references I have used in my presentation. Thank you.